special 2-hour edition of 2020, The Royal Wedding, A Modern Fairytale. The eyes of the world on one red carpet and one radiant bride when Kate became Catherine.
With this ring, I be wed.
Everything you didn't see after she said,
I will.
Two will. All new details on the toasts, the parties still going strong.
They've actually bought a nightclub into the palace. Lights, a DJ, a dance floor.
Those hats, that dress.
This wedding dress will live on, and it's another dimension of legacy.
How soon can you buy it when knockoffs hit the stores? Plus, a royal first, a second kiss, when the first one wasn't enough.
Do it again!
From exuberant England to fantastic foreigners and Americans abroad.
It's beautiful.
What comes after the ultimate joyride for a surprise driver and his royal passenger? From that to this, it's Green Acres, here they come. And now from London, Barbara Walters.
Good evening, or should I say good morning, because it's 2 a.m. here in London, technically the day after the wedding, and the party is still going strong behind me in Buckingham Palace. For those who do manage to stay up all night, Prince Harry will be hosting a survivor's breakfast at sunrise. I don't expect to be there, but I was here all day today to watch one of the most beautiful and memorable weddings I've ever seen. It was a long-awaited historic day when the ultimate fairy tale finally came true, when Katie's wait was finally over. Today, a beautiful bride would step into this church, a commoner, and emerge a princess. It doesn't get any more fairy tale than that. And a nation mired in economic problems had a chance to wrap itself in patriotic fervor. The wedding was planned with military precision, and in a way, it all came down to numbers. 10:12 a.m., the precise moment when handsome Prince William and his best man, his brother Prince Harry, set out for the church. Their former press secretary, Colleen Harris, could barely contain her pride.
I can't believe how splendid they both look.
10:59 a.m., the precise moment when, as if on cue, the sun peeked out from behind the clouds.
The sun has come out all of a sudden here.
On the threshold of the church, two brothers, perhaps thinking of their mother, to whom they had said goodbye in this very church.
And they were just hesitating outside. And then, after a little bit, Prince William, you could just see his lips moving. We'd better go inside. And the two brothers who have been through everything in life together just turned, walked into the set of this great challenge, this great event of Prince William's life, with enthusiasm and vigour.
0.8 miles, the distance from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey. 1 million, the number of people lining the route to cheer. Earlier, at 10:51 a.m., the precise moment a radiant bride stepped into her car for the 9-minute ride to Westminster Abbey. 2 billion, the number of TV viewers estimated all over the world who saw the dress before Prince William did. Among the 1,900 guests, 2 Beckhams, Victoria and David, Sir Elton John, 4 ex-girlfriends, 2 ex-boyfriends, 1 butcher, 1 postman, and the bride and groom's favourite pub owner.
Don't be stupid, John. You won't get an invitation. You're just a barman.
A couple of seconds, how long Queen Elizabeth waited for the bride to arrive. 57 years, 2 months and 14 days, how long her son Charles has waited to become king. The number of steps Catherine took down the aisle, 300. The number of steps normally separating royalty from a commoner, infinite. But numbers don't tell us everything, and for the English, today was a day when anything seemed possible.
At the end of the day, it's about 2 people falling in love, 2 people deciding to get married, and it doesn't matter whether they're a commoner or a princess.
How to describe the magic of a public moment that was so private?
The most amazing moment for me, I kept my eyes on Prince William when he came out, he made a point of not looking back at Kate, not looking at that dress. He fixed his eyes at the front, and amazing, he was so nervous, trying to hide it.
As his bride walked toward him, William tried to resist the urge to turn, but not his brother.
Harry looked back to see the dress and said something to William, something like, "She looks amazing." There they are. The naughty boy couldn't resist, and William stayed the course.
Prince William was literally the last person to see his wife in her dress. Fantastic.
And journalist Duncan Larkin, only steps away, thought he saw a familiar expression.
And I just noticed there he was chewing his upper lip, just like his mother used to. It was vintage Princess Diana. She was there, you know, William, accidentally, I suppose, subconsciously, Princess Diana was there with him.
It was very poignant that he made his vows to Catherine just a short few yards from where his mother's coffin rested during the service of her funeral. He couldn't have failed to have remembered somewhere in his mind how important that link is.
How to describe the look of intimacy the groom gave the bride when he finally saw her.
And there was an expression of wow written all over his face.
And he said something to her.
He said, "You look so beautiful."
Dearly beloved.
And as it all began, we saw a time-honored ceremony unfolding that seemed to reinvigorate the monarchy.
Wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife?
A charming prince who seemed so relatable.
I will. Wilt thou have this man to thy wedded husband?
A self-assured bride who could help bring the monarchy into a new century.
I will.
So you've got this wonderful continuous story that links the past with the present.
And a bond.
With this ring I thee wed.
Almost as tight as Catherine's wedding ring. And through it all, hymns and lessons.
Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewings of your minds.
The quick glances of a young couple who seemed to have figured out how to have their privacy in public.
The fact is that two people have fallen in love. One's a prince, one is not involved in all that at all. But as their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, there'll be an addition that will be hugely advantageous to the royal family and perhaps can do a great deal to serve the country.
And so they walked down the aisle, a duke and a duchess. But on another level, a man and wife like most any other, facing a future of infinite possibility, and just like any wedding guest, we felt a little transformed. The bells are ringing, and from the carriage ride to those now famous kisses and what went on at the royal luncheon, we are going to show you everything that followed the glorious ceremony. Stay with us.
The Royal Wedding, A Modern Fairy Tale continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
Every wedding has two parts, the nervous lead up to the big moment, and then the rush of relief and happiness that it's over. Nothing went wrong, and the rest of the day was pure joy and giddy celebration. The great bells of Westminster Abbey began to chime. They would do so for 3 hours. Her Royal Highness, the new Duchess of Cambridge, met her subjects in her first moments as royalty. Prince William faced his first challenge as a husband, helping his wife negotiate her formidable bridal train into the 100-year-old carriage.
They look good together, they fit together. They're in each other's skin.
This was what 1 million Britons had waited in the street for.
They're just so natural a couple, and it just seems very real.
A full royal procession with 5 horse-drawn carriages, the newlyweds, Prince Harry and the wedding party, Pippa Middleton and the bridesmaids, the Queen and Prince Philip, and the proud and happy Middletons.
This was a tremendous moment for the Middletons, because who could have believed when Catherine was born she would become Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Cambridge and one day will be Queen Catherine? Nobody could have foretold that.
According to one lip reader, William told his bride, "You have to wave back even if it's too much for you." And she did. with a gesture she will probably be making for the rest of her life.
Kate got that wave right. She really did, because it was so much more normal and natural. It was a real wave.
The carriage, pulled by 4 Windsor grey horses, usually reserved for the monarch, performed flawlessly. But off camera, there was one scary moment. One of the horses in the royal procession got spooked by the crowd noise, threw its rider, and cantered off.
Suddenly we saw the carriage of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge with this rogue horse galloping along behind it. That was slightly worrying.
Other than the rider's pride, there were no reported injuries. Back at the now empty cathedral, a Westminster church official did a cartwheel down the aisle. And as the procession turned into the mile, the royal couple received a welcome wedding gift from Mother Nature. For a moment, the newlyweds were bathed in sunlight. The coach is going right by us. You know, we're not just watching it on television, we're seeing it in person. The Welsh Guard assembled in the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. And then, as at most weddings, a tedious interlude awaited. It's reassuring to know that royals, too, have to take their photos.
They went straight to one of the staterooms for the official photographs by Hugo Bernand. I expect he was nervous.
Meanwhile, the police began to let the crowd in.
They walk very slowly and people come off the side of the road and they gather in behind. And there must have been, oh gosh, at least 700,000 people. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere.
Some sported cheeky signs. Checkmate, Kate, you've taken the king.
We are very close. I can really feel the excitement here.
Most just waited. Others waded in the fountain beneath the statue of Queen Victoria. Then at last, shadows on the palace curtains and the iconic moment. As Catherine said, "Oh, wow," the world saw the face of a now much more modern monarchy.
Obviously, we saw Kate and William. We saw Prince Charles, and we saw him picking up Camilla's grandchild, and I thought that was a really tender moment that he was there holding her so she could see out.
One page boy told another it's good fun being with the royal family, and then it happened. But the crowd wasn't in the mood for English restraint. The people wanted more, and as William said, one more kiss.
It's not in our DNA as British to really show any kind of public affection. So this, again, is a real step towards being possibly more human in public. And I think what was exciting today was to see not one but 2 kisses. Fantastic.
World War II aircraft thundered overhead, then Typhoon and Tornado jet fighters. A 3-year-old bridesmaid, Grace Van Cutsem, showed us what she thought of all that. For the lead performers, a private reception hosted by the Queen.
There was a 7-tiered wedding cake, and Prince William drew his sword and cut the cake, as any army officer does.
For the rest of the country, thousands of street parties. Then they went off script, the Royal Highnesses by themselves. William behind the wheel of a convertible, trailing balloons, and checked the license plate.
William has married somebody that he feels very comfortable with. He loves her, they love each other, they know how to laugh, so they're a good fit together.
Even the couple didn't know that one of William's RAF helicopters was flying in with his buddies at the helm. With the ceremony long over, the couple re-emerged after sundown, dressed to party. A tux for him, a new dress for her, also by designer Sarah Burton. The crowd got smaller and younger for the Buckingham Palace party that Pippa and Harry organized. The Queen had already gone for the weekend, and in the privacy of the palace, a new married life began as William and Catherine danced their wedding day into the night. When we come back, I'll be talking to one of the guests at the wedding, a king. And we're going to tell you what you don't know about Catherine's dress. is a joyous occasion. It signifies profound love and commitment. For the couple, that is. For a lot of other people, it's a fashion show. And what a fashion show it was. Deborah Roberts tells us everything.
From those elaborate hoofs called fascinators to jewel-toned frocks, the splendor paraded through Westminster was truly a royal red carpet event. But all eyes focused on one woman and one anticipated dress.
When you saw her, what did you think?
I have to tell you, it took my breath away. It just took my breath away. Everything about it. The silhouette, the train, the accessorization with the veil, all of it. Her posture, her command, it was so regal, yet so effortless.
She exuded confidence. It took a confident woman to say, I want a dress that really speaks to me.
Project Runway's Tim Gunn and award-winning fashion writer Robin Givhan say Catherine Middleton did not disappoint.
A little hint of maybe not sexiness, but certainly modernity there.
I don't know. Deborah, I call it sexy. I call it without even being remotely inappropriate. There have been a lot of comparisons made between this dress and the dress that Princess Grace wore at her wedding.
I think it's also a very womanly dress. In the sense that the hips are slightly padded. So you get this real sense of this teeny tiny waist and this kind of hourglass figure.
You can also see through her veil quite nicely. Was that significant, Robin?
Well, I thought it stood in stark contrast to Princess Diana's dress, where when she arrived, you could barely make out her face.
What about the train? It was about 8 feet long, we're told, but not overwhelming.
The scale and proportion of the dress, to me, this is perfection.
Everything about that dress flatters her figure. I mean, I just think that she really chose it because it reflected how she wanted to look today. It didn't aspire to be this sort of game-changing fashion dress.
But the dressmaker was a bit of a game changer. Alexander McQueen, an edgy 40-year-old British designer who took his own life last fall.
Alexander McQueen was such an appropriate choice for this dress, an unexpected choice, but a really appropriate one. And this wedding dress will live on, and it's another dimension of legacy.
In some ways, for McQueen head designer Sarah Burton, a crowning in and of itself.
What will this do for her?
Well, I think that people now know the Sarah Burton name for sure. I think this kind of cements her, in the minds of certainly the fashion industry, that she's really come into her own.
As expected, the new Duchess donned a tiara, a 1936 model by Cartier, borrowed from the Queen. Her something new, dangling drop earrings, a perfect compliment, a gift from her parents. And something blue, a ribbon sewn inside her dress. But before the captivating bride, another Middleton wowed the crowd.
When I first saw Pippa, initially, for half a second, I thought it was Kate because it was what I thought her dress might have looked like.
And Deborah, I was with you. I had the same reaction. I thought, oh my goodness, this is disarming.
This is the dress that I think is going to be knocked off.
Did she steal the thunder from her sister?
No.
I don't think that's possible. No. How about Kate's mother?
That's a good-looking mother of the bride. I really love that the colors that she's wearing were also sort of reflected in what the Duchess of Cornwall was wearing.
Total agreement.
The Queen is in yellow. Did you expect bright yellow?
It was such an exuberant choice for her, and to be in it from head to toe, except for that handbag.
Sarah Ferguson's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, caught a lot of attention.
Yes.
Honestly, what do you think of what they're wearing?
Well, I was asked...
Wackadoodle.
They do get the vote for the most fascinating fascinator. It doesn't say that it's good, it just says that it's fascinating. I'm more perplexed by Eugenie's skirt.
Now, Princess Anne also had on a pretty strong outfit and hat. Okay, Tim, you're having a reaction to Princess Anne's outfit?
I am having a reaction to Princess Anne's outfit, and it's not a good one. She is Princess Anti-Fashion. She claims to want nothing to do with it. She claims that it is of no importance to her. Then why is she coming to this wedding looking like coleslaw?
Apart from those few misses, some of the most delightful surprises were in the details. Particularly those hats.
We have to talk continuously about the hats because nobody does it like the British.
And no one seemed to steal the show like British milliner Philip Treacy.
Philip Treacy was in abundance at this wedding. I can't imagine there's another designer who was more prominently represented.
Speaking of designers, a pregnant Victoria Beckham wore her own midnight blue ensemble, with a Treacy hat, of course. And Sir Elton sported a morning coat with a touch of yellow and lavender. But of course, the day was all about the bride and that dress.
When we consider that Catherine is the future Queen of England, I think that as long as she's living, this dress is going to live on with her.
In fact, during the I Do's, reproductions were already being imagined at boutiques like Bridal Reflections in New York City.
I think that she's making history in the bridal industry because it's all about the fit and flair, a little more glamour, old Hollywood. She brought back that classic, traditional lace style.
What kind of phone calls do you think you'll get today?
I think we'll have girls call and ask, well, I don't want to look exactly like her, but I do want to have that lace influence.
And that nice deep neckline, too.
It's exactly what April Nelson came looking for this afternoon.
When I saw Kate Middleton's dress today, I died. I didn't want it before, but I definitely now want a little bit of poof on the bottom. Nothing too big, just exactly how Kate had it, with a beautiful, beautiful long veil with beautiful lace on it.
Rosalind Fiamara and her sales team are already asking designers for their best Kate lookalikes. Some may arrive as early as next week.
Diana's dress had influence for a few years. How long do you think that this influence will last?
I think this will have a longer influence.
A new young Duchess taking her place in bridal history. Her wedding, a memory now, but her impact, no doubt, just beginning.
If you are Prince Charles and you're choosing a godfather for your son, who will one day be king, who better than a man who already is a king? The hereditary king of Greece, Constantine. He had a front row seat at his godson, Prince William's wedding. King Constantine and Prince Charles are second cousins. Their grandfathers were brothers. Over the years, Constantine has remained a close friend and confidant of his cousin Charles, attending the weddings of Diana, Princess of Wales, and Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York. But more significantly is his connection to Prince William. Constantine is William's godfather. There he is sitting next to Princess Diana at William's christening. And William is godfather to King Constantine's grandson. So he was a sure invite to William and Catherine's royal nuptials with one of the best seats in the Abbey. Your Majesty, I thank you for joining us. Prince William, you've known for how long?
Since he was a baby. And we used to go out on trips together with Princess Diana and William and Harry.
You were in the Abbey. Describe what it was like when the bride came in.
Well, this bride was absolutely stunning. She looked so beautiful and so relaxed. You can see in their faces, so in love.
And what did you say to William?
Oh, to William, I hugged him and said, you damn well chose a beautiful girl, I must say.
What do you think was the most touching moment as you sat there with your fellow royals?
It's the glance that is given between the bride and the bridegroom, and when the certain prayers are being said, and the way they looked at each other, and the way William looked at his brother, Harry, waiting for the bride to come up. I suspect that he was telling him, look, she's coming close, she's getting close, so that he would turn around at the right moment.
Your Majesty, you were at Princess Diana's wedding to Prince Charles?
I was at the wedding, yes.
How is this wedding different?
Well, we are now 30 years advanced. I think everybody's grown up.
Now we have Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, who is a commoner, not a member of the aristocracy. Does that matter?
It doesn't matter if she's happy to listen and learn, and if she's in any doubt, any difficulty of what she should do. She's got the most fantastic wealth of knowledge that she can tap.
What advice would you give her from all of your years?
If the groom is wrong, admit it immediately.
The groom should admit it.
Yes. And if the groom is right, the best thing you can do is to shut up.
What did you think of the double kiss on the balcony?
Was it only 2? I think it's wonderful. They should have done some more of that.
There are still thousands of people in the streets of London tonight, many of whom have been camping out for days. We will introduce you to some of them when we return. And don't forget, you can watch more later about the royal wedding on abcnews.com. Most of us are content to watch the wedding on TV or the internet, but there are some people who need a more intimate experience. They have to be within sight of the royal couple, or at least within sight of someone who is within sight of someone who's within sight of the royal couple, if they crane their neck. Many of those people are still out celebrating, and our Nick Watt is with them.
Barbara, we are in London, Soho, where the party is going on. There were 5,000 street parties across Britain today, and millions more watching on TV. But for a lot of people, it was all about their own personal princess moment.
Rachel Sadlowski has just seen Catherine Middleton for the first time. She and husband Adrian Correa, a tight little team among the million royal fans here on the streets of London, trying to get a glimpse of the fairy tale couple. Gathered along the procession in front of the big screens in London parks and across the globe, as many as 2 billion people watched this happen. Royal watchers from South Africa to Hong Kong to Australia, even in Afghanistan. That's nearly 1/3 of all the humans on this planet. In the US, there was a princess party at Walt Disney World. And a more grown-up gathering in Times Square. But it's one thing to take it all in on a TV screen, no matter how big. It takes dedication to get a live, up-close and personal look at newly-wed royals. 2020 followed the remarkable stories of those who travelled thousands of miles just to witness a few fleeting moments.
My God,
To get to this place and moment, Rachel and Adrian started their journey 1 week and 3,000 miles ago.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and anybody who knows me, even remotely, knows that I am completely obsessed with Princess Diana.
Rachel traces her royal obsession back to when she was 7 years old, blown away watching Diana's wedding on TV. She's dreamed ever since of seeing a royal wedding in person.
I've waited 30 years to do something like this.
Rachel and Adrian agreed to document their journey for 2020.
I hate packing, I hate unpacking.
From their home in Connecticut all the way to London.
What is that, hon?
It's Harrods, and it's all decked out in Union Jacks.
Once in London, after a bit of sightseeing, they staked out their ideal position on the Mall, and we came to visit.
Adrian, Rachel.
Hello. Hi.
You look comfy. This is kind of form and function, because it's nothing is more comfortable than laying on asphalt. Are you going to try and make it to see the kiss?
I hope so, yeah.
That's where you come in. I'm the fullback.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I'm going to push as many people as I possibly can and look as threatening as I can, and then she'll apologize as I push through them. Perfect.
And we found others to document their experiences for 2020. Meet Sarah Binns of Boston.
I'm so excited. The adrenaline is pumping through me.
Really?
I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. I mean,
She really has. Just like Rachel, Sarah's royal obsession began with Princess Di's wedding.
Well, I made it to London in one piece, although a bit worse for the wear in terms of sleep.
Sarah arrived in London without a hotel reservation, but with a plan to get as close to the palace as possible and wait.
All of my friends who live here and who are British keep saying, "Oh, no big deal. We've seen him before. You know, whatever." For me, it's thrilling.
You're not crazy.
Well, I was warned that people would try to paint me as crazy, and I prefer passionately interested.
And the passionately interested started marking their spots 2 days ago. We enlisted college journalist Alan O'Doherty to cover the front line.
Can you explain why these people are doing this?
I think it's just to be here for the moment. You can watch it on television, but it's just not the same. You know, it's actually being here in the moment, being right there when Will and Kate come out onto the balcony when they share their first kiss.
You are excited about it.
It's infectious. It's absolutely infectious. I can't help myself.
But as the long, dark hours of the night crawled by, our enthusiastic royal watchers found it wasn't all fun and games.
Absolutely free. Absolutely free. Probably should have bought a jumper. Didn't think that far ahead.
You guys wait.
This is awesome. We should sleep on concrete more often.
Yes, no, I'd like to get a pizza delivered
Alan
to
keeps the
Buckingham
crowd's energy up by ordering a pizza to Buckingham Palace.
Big building in London for the royal family.
These guys really do deliver everywhere.
Okay, guys, who wants a pizza?
Sarah, however, has more on her mind than hunger and discomfort.
Let me get my folder out.
Pepper in here somewhere as well.
Yeah, and William and Harry leave Clarence's house at 10:10 in the morning.
We're sleeping at the royal wedding. Yeah.
Spirits remain high throughout the night.
William! And Kate!
For most, anyway.
Piss off, mate. Go in.
Finally, the sun rises and the moment beckons.
I'm getting chills, emotional chills just thinking about seeing William and Kate and the Queen and the family so soon.
Anticipation builds. Then pay dirt. The carriage, the royal newlyweds, the princess fantasy.
Awesome was the word of the day today.
If you blinked, it was gone.
Yeah, they were beaming. They were beautiful.
Sarah is so excited she can barely hold the camera we gave her steady. Then, the cops opened the roads. It was a mad rush to see the pivotal moment, the balcony kiss. Rachel has another big moment in person.
Do it again!
Rachel will remember this the rest of her life. Adrian, what a guy. He's racking up some major husband points today.
Everything. This is like a dream come true. I don't know what is going to top this. It's like every Christmas morning rolled into one. It's great.
Lovely.
Barbara, a very special day for a lot of people, and it looks like Prince Harry's not the only one who's going to be partying into the night. This could go on some time. Back to you, Barbara.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to see people still celebrating late into the night or the morning. But earlier today, we were awash in royals from all over the world. Did you know that King Mswati III of Swaziland was invited? He has 13 wives, and you have to wonder, how did he figure out which wife to invite with him? It's always hard to decide whom to invite to a wedding, especially a wedding like this. If you invite Grand Duke Henry of Luxembourg, then you pretty much have to invite Prince Hans Adam II of Liechtenstein, or his feelings might be hurt, and so will those probably of his countrymen. All 35,000 Liechtensteiners will be mad at you. So who was invited and who came? Billions watched on television, but these are the ones who saw it all from the sought-after chairs in Westminster Abbey. It was a dazzling assembly of royal blood, fabulous wealth, connections, and clout.
All in all, there were about 1,000 guests that they wanted to invite, and the other 900 were made up of people that they had to invite.
In all, almost 50 British royals, barons, dukes, and countesses filed in. So did about as many monarchs from the rest of the world, from the king of the Pacific island nation of Tonga to the Queen of Spain. After centuries of continental coupling, many of Europe's royals are related by blood to the British crown.
You've got links with the Scandinavian royal families, quite strong links with the Dutch royal family. There's a lot of cousins, and they probably don't even know who's related to who, but they're polite to each other.
Sweden's Princess Victoria was there. She just had a royal wedding of her own and, like William, married a commoner. In her case, her personal trainer. And there were a few celebrities as well. Singer Joss Stone, Elton John, who was close to William's mother Diana and sang so memorably at her funeral. Actor Rowan Atkinson, known as Mr. Bean, and a pregnant Victoria Beckham and her soccer star husband David wearing an Order of the British Empire medal on his lapel.
David Beckham was there wearing his medal on the wrong side of his jacket, and he shouldn't have worn it anyway because medals were not the order of the day. The only people who wear medals are the military, but we'll forgive him for that.
Not too many celebrities.
It was very low on the celebrity count. Guy Ritchie, who most bizarrely is a sixth cousin, distant sixth cousin of Kate Middleton, but pretty much, apart from Ian Thorpe, who I also spotted, the Australian swimmer, it was very low on the celeb count.
The Sultan of Brunei, one of the world's richest men, left behind a fleet of over 3,000 luxury cars and a palace with 257 bathrooms to attend. Not far away in the crowd was someone of more modest means, Catherine's yoga teacher. The royal couple made sure that 1,000 faces in the crowd were their own friends and family.
It's been quite a fun list in this respect because some real surprises on the list.
Is 496, please?
For example, Kate invited along the couple that run her local village shop. Her postman was on the list.
They did invite their butcher, the owner of the local pub. They invited the people they see every day.
Yes.
And so they're on one side and the royals are on the other?
Yes, the Middletons were determined, I think, to have as many of their nearest and dearest friends from the village, neighbours, people that are part of their lives, very normal people.
Seeing Kate and her dad walk down the aisle, it brought a tear to my eye. I was choked up. It was absolutely something else. And as I say, inches away from her, and she looked at me and smiled, which was great. I absolutely loved that.
Every guest list causes some arguments. This one got some public protest. For example, the Crown's invitation to the King of Swaziland, a former British protectorate. King Mswati rules the impoverished African country with an iron fist and a dozen wives, choosing a new one now and then from a group of thousands of bare-breasted virgins who dance before him for the occasion.
If you're going to tick the list of foreign rulers, then sooner or later, one or two, shall I say, slightly less savoury characters are likely to receive an invite.
And there were some notable royal snubs. To the surprise of many, former British Labour Prime Ministers Tony Blair and Gordon Brown were not invited. And neither was President Obama.
The Obamas were not invited because President Obama is a head of state, and it's not a state occasion. The Queen of Denmark was here. Yes, she is a head of state, but she's also related to the Queen, and that's why she was here.
Don't forget, in a couple of weeks' time, I think he makes a visit to Buckingham Palace and will stay with the Queen. So if there are any hard feelings, I'm sure that Her Majesty will try and smooth those over.
William's cousins, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, attended the wedding, but notably absent was their mother, Sarah Ferguson. Most Americans know Sarah from her Weight Watcher commercials.
It makes the hardest thing in the world a lot easier.
Her 1986 marriage to William's uncle, Prince Andrew, ended badly. Even worse, she was caught in a newspaper sting offering political access to Andrew in exchange for money.
I think you often learn a lot about family relationships from weddings, and certainly we've learnt an awful lot about how Sarah Ferguson's status within that family is almost invisible, which I think is a great shame.
In a poignant final touch, William invited several friends from the military and relatives of some of those lost in battle.
There were people he felt they should have an invitation. There was a lady called Holly Dyer, whose sister Joanna Dyer was with William at Sandhurst, and who sadly got killed, blown up by a bomb in Iraq.
Joanna's sister Holly was there today, among the 1,900 guests from around the world who will forever be linked by the royal wedding. They say that Catherine and her sister Philippa, called Pippa, are best friends, but like many siblings, they may be a little competitive. Catherine was a star today, so how did her younger sister do? Stay with us to find out. And don't forget you can watch highlights from the royal wedding online at abcnews.com.
Tonight, as we continue this special edition of 2020, The Royal Wedding, A Modern Fairytale. Moments from a fairy tale, 8 years in the making. They walked, they rode, they wed into history. How does their wedding compare to Charles and Diana? A lesson in body language. Plus, all new details on the best man and maid of honor, a.k.a. Harry and Pippa.
Pippa is quite a handful compared to Kate.
We knew that Prince Harry would do something crazy, and that was his surprise for his brother.
What's next? Where do the two most famous people in the world escape for privacy?
Thank
you very much. And now that he has the ring, how long does he wait to wear the crown?
He is preordained by his birthright.
But halfway around the world, another drama is unfolding. Jim Avila with the latest news from Alabama.
I've never seen devastation like this. It is heartbreaking.
Hearts and minds. And hope. At home and abroad.
I think it's really special that the son of the People's Princess has married the true People's Princess.
Once again from London, Barbara Walters.
The Middletons have just acquired the most famous in-laws in the land. Will that change them? Elizabeth Vargas looks into it.
For Catherine's father, Michael Middleton, it was a crowning achievement. Giving away his eldest daughter to the future King of England, a fairy tale moment 8 years in the making.
I was struck by Michael Middleton escorting his eldest daughter down that aisle today to marry her prince, and how proud he looked.
He looked so proud, and you couldn't help but think of the literal journey that he was taking his little girl, his firstborn, on. I mean, she's gone from being his baby to the future Queen of England, and of course any father would be proud, but also understandably overwhelmed, perhaps even fighting back emotion.
He looked like he was tearing up.
There was a very poignant moment of when he lifted back her veil, and she had to bow slightly for that to happen, and it was a lovely little moment just between the two of them that really showed that she is still his little girl.
Carol Middleton, the former airline flight attendant, now seated across from her queen. Today, her pre-wedding jitters gave way to pride.
When the camera would cut to her, she had just the right amount of emotion. You could tell that she was very moved, but she wasn't overtly emotional, which would certainly be frowned upon.
The Middletons have had to negotiate their role in the spotlight ever since the engagement was announced.
Carol and I are absolutely delighted by today's announcement.
They have been very, very careful not to overstep.
They came out on the day, they smiled, and they walked back indoors. And I think, a lot of British people felt that's the essence of Britishness, stiff upper lip and then retire into your own private life.
It has not been so simple for Catherine's younger sister. She's been dubbed Paparazzi Pippa because she seemed to relish the limelight. Today, she was perfectly poised as her sister's maid of honor.
Pippa looked lovely. I thought she looked absolutely fabulous.
She clearly was so proud of her sister, so proud to be standing behind her sister. There doesn't seem to be any sort of sibling rivalry or envy.
You see sometimes with two sisters close in age, a little bit of the competition there. And
she was prompt. She was right there the minute that her sister's tray needed fixing or her bouquet needed handing off. She was right there.
And then there is 24-year-old brother James.
James, I think, has a reputation for being probably the wayward of all three children. And James is very gregarious, he's very outgoing, he's the sort of chap that you can really enjoy a drink with, and he'll make you laugh.
I appeal to you, brothers and sisters.
Today, James was the picture of solemnity, the only one to read before the congregation and the world, a lesson from Romans 12.
Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil.
He certainly was composed and poised in that reading in the church today.
None of that lavish behavior was evident today, nor would it have been. I mean, he loves his sister dearly, intensely. It was a tremendous honor that he was the one asked to give a reading, and he did it impeccably.
Then the Middletons joined in the procession from the Abbey. Two families from such different realms. William, the prince whose parents' marriage bitterly dissolved, and Catherine, whose parents have been happily married for nearly 30 years.
What do the Middletons bring to the table for William in this marriage?
A normal family. And there's clearly an element in William that yearns for normality. The Middletons, with their middle-class, middle-of-the-road name and style, come from endearingly humble origins.
An ordinary couple who made their fortune in the party planning business. Today, the royal party was for them. Could they ever have imagined that they would join the Windsors standing on the balcony at Buckingham Palace?
It is a tremendous journey. It's mind-boggling.
We saw Kate say, "Oh, wow," when she stepped up to that balcony and took her first look at the enormous crowds waiting for her and William. What must the Middletons have thought?
They must have thought, oh, wow, times about 20.
We've talked a lot about how Catherine's life is going to change. What about the rest of the Middletons?
Their life will be under intense scrutiny. The way in which they've conducted themselves thus far without making a single misstep, that will absolutely have to continue. They will now be living their life under a magnifying glass, and this poise, this discretion will need to continue for the rest of their lives.
Do the rules change in private with the way they have to treat their daughter and sister? I mean, do they have to refer to her a certain way, or can they just give her a big hug and, you know, call her Kate?
Yes, she'll be Kate to the Middletons forever. That's one of the things, too, that William likes about the Middletons, that he'll just be able to go home, be himself, and be naturally welcomed into the bosom of the family.
This family that means so much to the future king. Today, the Middletons gave him the greatest wedding gift of all, their daughter.
When we come back, how did Prince Harry do as his brother's best man? Today, William gained a wife and lost a title. That title, England's most eligible bachelor. That honor now goes to his best man and younger brother, Harry. Bob Woodruff has made a friend of Prince Harry and finds him irrepressible and irresistible.
Prince William's best man, Harry, in his blues and royals officer's uniform today, may be third in line for the throne, but he's first at one thing.
There was a poll not that long ago which put Harry as the most eligible bachelor. I can't see that changing now that his older brother's been married off the scene.
He's not only the devoted brother who delivered the ring, but also a sportsman, a military officer, committed philanthropist. And now the new center of royal romantic speculation. He was born Prince Henry Charles Albert David, or Harry for short.
Is it okay if I call you Prince Harry?
Call me whatever you want, Bo. Can I call you Bo?
I was able to meet with the prince a month ago in the Arctic Circle on a remarkable charity voyage. The prince with a team of British soldiers injured in Afghanistan heading toward the North Pole. This was his last big trip before today's wedding. A month ago, the guest list hadn't been announced.
Who are you going to invite to the wedding?
Who am I going to invite?
closest
No,
people
it's not my wedding. I'm just going to be there.
But arriving at Westminster Abbey today was the woman he reportedly fell in love with years ago, a blonde, Zimbabwe-born lawyer named Chelsea Davy.
Chelsea Davy and Harry have been together on and off for about 5 years, and it's been Harry's most serious relationship to date.
And although Harry has been connected to a number of other young women, he keeps returning to Chelsea.
He's absolutely mesmerised by her, and I don't know what it is, whether it's her perfume or how she makes him laugh, but there's something about Chelsea that Harry just literally can't leave alone. He adores her.
One of his duties today, of course, was delivering the best man speech. Out on the frozen tundra, he was already thinking about it.
Can you tell me some details of what you'll be saying?
I haven't written it yet. Does that answer the question? I will have a few stories. I think my grandmother will be there, so I'll have to be selective, as one might say.
His grandmother being, of course, the Queen of England. But Harry had nothing to fear. Just after hosting a post-wedding luncheon, his grandmother left for a weekend in the country, opening the door for a potentially lively toast. 26-year-old Harry has the reputation of being a free-spirited prince.
Harry is mischievous, cheeky, funny. He has a great sense of humour. And the most striking thing about him is just how down-to-earth he is.
The two boys, the two princes, play out that role of the older brother and the younger brother very well. It's almost a textbook case where William is a little bit more serious and Harry is a little bit more mischievous, very entertaining, very good raconteur.
And friends say he's a spirited party planner, too. He helped organize the event that's going on right now at Buckingham Palace, a private reception for the bride and groom's 300 closest friends and family. Harry reportedly has his DJ friend supplying the music. Yet another gift for Kate and his big brother.
William and Harry are so close, as brothers, friends, confidants. I think it's because they are probably the only two people who can truly understand their extraordinary circumstance.
He is the one person on this earth who I can actually really, we can talk about anything and we understand each other and we give each other support.
Harry was only 8 when his parents separated and nearly 13 when Diana died. The bond between William and Harry grew stronger then, so did their suspicion of the press.
Both of the boys have a very complex relationship with the media. I think they blame the paparazzi for their mother's death.
The British tabloids soon became as obsessed with Harry as they had been with his mother. During his teenage years, the papers were rife with stories about Prince Harry, some of them flattering, most of them not.
Prince Harry was a naughty boy when he was younger. He loved to party, he loved to drink, he got himself into trouble, he made some bad choices.
Partly in an effort to shake off that party boy reputation, Prince Harry took time away after high school, as his brother William had done, to see a world outside the palace walls. One of the places he traveled was to Lesotho, a tiny, impoverished country in Africa, as documented in this film, The Forgotten Kingdom. Since then, his mission has been to help families and orphans suffering because of AIDS, a move that echoes that kind of work pursued by his mother.
I believe I got a lot of my mother in me, basically, and I think she'd want us to do this. It's now time to follow on, or as much as I can, try and keep my mother's legacy going.
Now that his brother is married, Harry will spend most of his time with his regiment, training for war. 3 years ago, he was secretly deployed to Afghanistan, but his tour was cut short when the tabloid press revealed his position, and for safety reasons, the prince was sent home. Furious about that decision, he has been fighting to go back. This year, he was promoted to captain and certified to fly one of the fastest and most powerful helicopters, the Apache.
Do you want to go back to Afghanistan?
I would love to go back. I really would. And as long as my military career allows it, then I will serve my country as any other soldier.
But today, it is all about his brother. And the world wonders, when will William get a chance to return the favor and be the best man at Harry's wedding?
I sort of describe him as the royal that most guys want to have a pint with, have a beer with, and most women want to go out and have a romantic meal with. He's got that kind of magic touch.
True to his reputation as the royal who loves to party, when tonight's reception ends, Harry will be hosting a survivor's breakfast at sunrise here at Buckingham Palace for whoever is still awake and standing. And when we return, we will take you to the tiny, very obscure town where the world's most famous couple is heading to live. And remember that you can watch more of the royal wedding at abcnews.com.
The Royal Wedding, A Modern Fairy Tale continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
Good evening and welcome back to London. Behind me, Buckingham Palace and Queen Victoria's monument. Well, much of what made today so moving was Diana's wedding 30 years ago. It was very different, and yet, without it, today's wedding would not have had the same impact. It's a journey years in the making, but the final steps took just minutes. Catherine Elizabeth Middleton from Bucklebury stepped out of the Goring Hotel in London into a royal Rolls Royce and traveled through adoring crowds to Westminster Abbey, emerging to a roar from thousands of onlookers.
She's had nearly 9 years of getting used to the goldfish bowl of royalty. This is a fish that's ready to swim.
And as the entire world watched, inside the Abbey on her father Michael's arms, Catherine took the 4-minute walk down the aisle to meet her prince. And then Prince William whispered, "You look beautiful."
I'm quite used to watching royalty and to being in the same room as them. I went to the Abbey, like it was a day at work. My goodness, I was blown away, and I really genuinely was. We all talk about red carpet fever, where you just, wow, it's the royals, but today I'm afraid I'm guilty. I was just blown away.
The child of commoners, 29-year-old Catherine Middleton, had become Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cambridge, the future Queen of England. A fairy tale transformation, pure fantasy for most. It was last experienced by Prince William's mother.
The Royal Wedding, Prince Charles and Lady Diana.
I was fortunate to be there, reporting on that wedding 30 years ago.
What a day this must be for her, barely 20 years old.
A warm summer day back then. It was the same royal recipe of cavalry, carriages, and cheering crowds, and bells that rang for hours in celebration.
I must confess we're also both a little deaf.
Yes, I was going to say she became the Princess of Wales and we became deaf.
Even though there were no official nods to Princess Diana today, many saw her face reflected in her son's expression and charming manner. And her memory was on many people's minds.
Whenever you see William, you can't but help think about Diana. And certainly, he does her proud.
William is the embodiment of Diana. When he walked out of Westminster Abbey holding Catherine's hand, he had a sort of shyness that Diana had.
Unlike Catherine, Lady Diana began her wedding day Cinderella style, arriving not by car, but in a glass coach to the massive St. Paul's Cathedral.
This is magnificent. I have never seen a train like this. Have you?
I've never seen a royal wedding like this. And she does look like a fairy princess.
That was the goal, says dress designer Elizabeth Emanuel. With an eye for drama, she made the record-breaking 25-foot train.
And you think, when is it going to end? And the veil is blowing in the wind, and it feels like she's a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis.
Today, it's Catherine Middleton who has left the cocoon of normal life and emerged with a sleeker silhouette and a shorter, almost 9-foot train. On her dark hair, Catherine wore a diamond tiara loaned to her by Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth had received the tiara from her own mother. The weight of that history did not seem to show.
This is a girl with self-assurance, confidence, poise, and you have to take your hat off to her for that.
I think the word from today is composed and poised and cool and level-headed. Very brave.
a sharp contrast to Diana, who was almost 10 years younger than Catherine. Nervous and soft-spoken, Diana flubbed the order of Charles's name in her vows.
I, Diana Frances.
I, Diana Frances.
Take thee, Charles Philip Arthur George.
Take thee, Philip Charles Arthur George.
I, Catherine Elizabeth.
I, Catherine Elizabeth.
Take thee, William Arthur Philip Louis.
Take thee, William Arthur Philip Louis.
On almost every royal marriage, there has been some fluff or other.
And thereto I give thee my troth.
And thereto I give thee my troth.
But for the first time, perfect.
For richer, for poorer.
For richer, for poorer.
Catherine was spot on and heartfelt as she and William looked each other in the eye. Diane and Charles had barely made eye contact.
There was excitement, happiness, but also a drumbeat of dread. She was worried about Prince Charles's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, and as she said to me, as she was walking down the aisle, she was on the lookout for Camilla.
And there she was. Camilla back then was just a face in the crowd. Today she was in the Abbey as Prince Charles's wife, the Duchess of Cornwall. But Catherine can be confident that she's entered into a very different marriage.
When you look at the royal family today, they've learnt one central lesson from Diana's death, and that is, do not force someone to marry someone they don't want to. Charles was under pressure to marry a white, Anglo-Saxon, aristocratic virgin. William can marry who he wants.
Until the day they got engaged, Diana called Charles Sir. Kate and William have a very strong physical relationship, but they also have a great friendship.
I think the chemistry between these two, they didn't actually need to say anything to each other. It was the body language. When they waved, they mirrored one another's wave. They just fit together, these two people. I was just bowled over when Prince William leaned in again for his second kiss, and Kate just looked so happy, and the thunderous applause from the crowds. It was fantastic. It really was very, very special.
That's one more than the tradition set by William's parents. Just like today, millions of people were starving for a love story. But despite the jubilation of the crowd that day, enormous and immediate pitfalls awaited.
And she leaves the Princess of Wales, who must now be aware that every single move she makes in public will be recorded and observed. A very difficult life indeed.
Is this going to be history repeating itself, or is this going to be happier?
What's your bet?
My bet is this is going to be a happy outcome.
I think the one thing about them is that they know each other inside out. They've seen the best and the worst of each other. They have had more than a practice run the last 8 years, and I don't think he would have given that ring to someone he didn't think he was going to spend the rest of his life with.
There's a poetic justice in that. I think it's a real story of real loving people. It's better than a fairy tale.
While millions around the world celebrated the joyous event of the wedding, many in the U.S. are still struggling to recover from the devastating tornadoes that tore through the South earlier this week. We go to Jim Avila, who is in Alabama.
There's no pageantry in Alabama tonight. It's like two different worlds. Very difficult for a place like Concord, Alabama, to focus on the joy overseas when there's so much pain here at home. Oh my God. Ground Zero in Concord, Alabama. And tonight, Matt Pickett still marvels at how little is left.
This is where I used to live. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house.
Struggling to hold back the tears as he talks of home in the past tense. A flying recreational vehicle shredded his house, parts of it still littering the property.
Then all of a sudden, the windows started blowing out. The shower come in on top of me. It just collapsed.
Matt gripped the toilet.
That was the back of the house. That's where I was in the bathroom. And it was a good solid anchor.
And he survived with cuts on his face and a twisted leg. Tonight, friends are helping find mementos.
A picture of my grandmother and I only have one.
Down the street, another of the nearly 200 homes destroyed here in Concord.
This used to be the living room. Over there used to be the kitchen and dining room.
Yeah, I see the oven still there.
Right.
Where's your refrigerator?
We don't know. It's gone.
David Newman is a deputy sheriff. On the day of the tornado, he was moving into his new house. This is 5620 Smith Road then. This is the same spot today.
It sounded like a freight train coming through, and the winds were just ungodly. All I could think about was fixing to die.
Really?
That's honestly what I thought about.
He and his wife hunkered down in the center of the house and held on.
Like our bodies just be twisted and shook all around. Faces bleeding and stuff from my nose and everything like that. Trying to hold on to my wife. I didn't want to lose contact with her and all that. And where she held on pretty good.
Thank you so much for helping.
That's the kind of pain President Obama found today on his visit to Alabama, hugging the newly homeless in a Tuscaloosa shelter with the First Lady and touring the overwhelming damage.
We just took a tour, and I've got to say, I've never seen devastation like this. It is heartbreaking.
Across the South tonight, the death toll is more than 300, the deadliest April in history, the second worst death toll in any month since 1932. 224 tornadoes in all, including the strongest known to man. This one that destroyed Smithsville, Mississippi, was a rare EF5, the highest on the scale. And they are not finished looking for survivors. Search and rescue teams poking through the debris today. So much work still to do. This is Hackleburg, Alabama, or what's left of it.
This town has been totally devastated.
And Pastor Clint Knowles' new church is now unusable.
This was the sanctuary. This used to be the sanctuary. This was two-story in here, if you can imagine that. It was used to be 22 feet to the ceiling.
Now there is no ceiling, and no high school, and virtually no town.
Hackleburg's not Hackleburg no more.
It's a pain felt around the country, even those watching from afar, like pop star Taylor Swift, who today reached out in a tweet to comfort suffering victims. Quote, "We're at rehearsals watching videos of tornadoes in Tuscaloosa. Our love and hopes and thoughts and prayers go out to everyone." The heartfelt messages poured in. "I legitimately feel empty inside. My home has been destroyed, and I don't want to leave. Stay strong, Tuscaloosa. And please pray for Tuscaloosa. Our city is gone." And on Facebook, a new site to reunite lost and treasured possessions with their owners. A precious ultrasound image. This, a photo of a mother holding her newborn baby. And a wartime romance. All evidence of a nation bonding in new ways, with help tonight for those still in shock, still trying to fathom how their lives were changed forever by 45 seconds of the world's most violent winds.
Our thoughts are with them on a day of great contrasts. We'll be right back. Shortly, the newlyweds will be jetting off to their honeymoon. But the real honeymoon for them may be the next 2 years, because as William finishes his stint for the Royal Air Force, he and his bride will be largely out of the public eye in a place you wouldn't expect to find a prince. Chris Cuomo takes us there.
Far from the pomp and pressures of the royal palace, far from the prying eyes of the paparazzi, in fact, far from just about everything, there's an island you've probably never heard of, where the locals speak and sing in a language you've probably never heard. This is Anglesey, located on the northwest tip of Wales, 220 miles and a world away from London.
For people that have never seen Anglesey, it might not look terribly attractive. It's very exposed, it's very windswept, it rains a lot.
This is a region which boasts a larger population of sheep than people. A place where this is what passes for rush hour. And believe it or not, the spot of the British Empire where the newlyweds will be carving out their own little slice of heaven.
That's where they're going to base themselves for the next couple of years while William continues as a search and rescue helicopter pilot.
Prince William flies out of the large Royal Air Force Base on Anglesey, and here he's known simply as Flight Lieutenant William Wales. But that's only part of the story. The real reason has more to do with this: the splendid isolation, and above all, the remarkable discretion of the locals.
It's a trait, perhaps, in the Welsh people that it's important to give people their privacy.
Tour guide Idwal Jones says that if the Welsh are less gushy about the prince in their midst, there's a reason.
To the Welshman, he is not Welsh royalty.
Wales was conquered by the English in 1283, so even when Charles becomes king and William receives the title Prince of Wales, traditionally bestowed at this castle, to the locals, he'll still be a foreigner.
He's not a Welsh person, he's not a native.
Idwal showed us all the sights of Anglesey: the breathtaking Menai Bridge, the breathtaking Dwynwen Beach, where young lovers, including the royal couple, have been known to stroll. And this breath-exhausting sign, written in the Welsh language, it could hospitalize you if you try to pronounce it. At 60 characters long, this is the longest name of any village anywhere in the world. And it happens to be right here in Wales. Now, this is actually the description of where a couple of churches are in relationship to a certain whirlpool. Nevertheless, it is all pronounced as a single word for the name of this village. And in Welsh, it is pronounced...
Thank
you very much. The one thing Idwal would not show us is the actual cottage where William and Kate have been living since they first moved here last year. For security reasons, its exact location is the best kept secret in all of Britain. All we could squeeze out of real estate agent Tim Goodwin is that it's 1,500 square feet of rental cottage somewhere over there.
Small sort of 3-bedroom property, 4-bedroom property.
So something that really just anybody could have.
From what I gather, yeah, absolutely normal existence.
Having said that, the average British Army officer does not have a pied-à-terre in Clarence House to come to weekends or whenever he wants to go to London, nor would he have Balmoral to go shooting in.
In fact, William's salary as a pilot is around £40,000 a year, roughly 65 grand to you and me. If he weren't a prince, he could only afford a modest flat like this. We do know this: their neighbor might not be the Earl of Sandwich, but he sure knows how to make one. He's the local butcher. Has it changed life around where you live at all? Is it more busy there now?
No, not really. No, but people keep an eye, you know.
Does he get a special deal because he's a neighbor?
Most probably. He'll get a bit of this discount.
As for the local cuisine, Prince William recently supped at this elegant manor house. But the couple has reportedly also patronized less aristocratic establishments. And of course, the local pubs.
It's a meeting point for the village.
And people come in here, if they want to have a beer, they get a beer like this, they pick it up, they take a sip.
And their friends sitting alongside will do the same thing.
You saw Kate walking down the aisle today, but she's used to aisles of a different sort. She's been spotted here food shopping to make meals fit for a... No, I'm not going to say it.
There's always a hot dinner for William when he gets home from work, and they've made it very clear that they don't want to have staff.
Of course, there will be a constant security detail and some kind of household help. But unlike his father, William won't have a servant squeezing his toothpaste for him.
This is not a couple that want chefs, aides, butlers, valets.
Okay, so we get it. This is about the simple life. But how about what they'll do for fun? William has been known to tear around the roads on his Ducati motorcycle. And as I saw for myself, Anglesey is a great place for a ride. As for Kate, we know she enjoys the rustic beauty of Anglesey, sailing and hiking the trails with William. But let's face it, the life of a military wife, even a royal one, can be lonely. When Her Highness gets homesick, there's always the Middleton family home in Bucklebury, just a 5-hour drive away. As for royal appearances and ceremonies, today's might be the last one you'll see for a while. For now, there's a more pressing royal duty to attend to.
Obviously, we want a family, so, you know, we'll have to start thinking about that.
And think about it. If a male heir is born here, he could become the first Welsh-born Prince of Wales in 700 years. A comforting thought tonight for Idwal and his countrymen.
First comes marriage, then one hopes comes children. Then all the other Windsors get one step further away from the crown when we return. Most everything in life has a pecking order, so do the Windsors. If and when William and Catherine have a son, it's going to shake things up among the Windsors. Here's Elizabeth Vargas.
As the firstborn son of the ruling monarch's firstborn son, William was always the future king. And as of today, he has his queen.
It'll be fantastic for the future of the monarchy, because I think she is exactly what's needed. If he had married one of these triple-barreled, rather flaky aristocrats, and there were lots of those circling him, then I think the public enthusiasm would not be what it is.
The enthusiasm here is so great there's a wish for William and Catherine to ascend as soon as possible. But the gears of royal transition grind slowly. William's 62-year-old father, Prince Charles, is now the longest-sitting heir apparent in British history, waiting more than 59 years to take over from his mother, who just turned 85.
Prince Charles has waited all his life to be king, and he is dedicated and committed to the job. Prince Charles wants to be king. I don't think there's any question about that.
Charles must be, I mean, it's his mother, but Charles must be wondering how old he's going to be when he finally might get that chance to sit on the throne, right?
Well, let's not forget the Queen's mother lived to over 100.
Right.
And she could well, you know, she's very fit, she takes exercise. There's quite a chance that the Queen will outlive Charles, I think.
Wow.
What's happened today is this wonderful new, royal, invigorated, young... There were lots of young people there today. Prince Charles is in his 60s. It is a real fear that they have that now he will be completely overshadowed by the William and Kate show.
When William's father, Prince Charles, married Princess Diana, she was always the superstar.
The crowds were always more keen to see Diana than Charles, and would sort of groan if Charles came down their side of the street and Diana was on the other. And Charles just
felt very good.
Well, no, but Charles just couldn't handle it. Where now there's been no question of that sort of thing with Kate and William, because there's an ease and a naturalness about the two of them.
And as of today, there's a new excitement about the idea of glowing newlyweds of childbearing age.
What will be wonderful is when they have their own children. I'm sure they're very keen to start a family. He absolutely adores babies.
Once the couple does have children, it will knock everyone else in the line of succession down a rung. The crown is now set to go from Queen Elizabeth to Prince Charles to Prince William, the heir, to today's best man, Prince Harry, the spare. But with each child of William and Catherine's, Harry will drop a notch, becoming, one report noted, the spare spare's spare. As he topples, so will everyone below him. Prince Charles's sister, Princess Anne, for example. She was once second in line to the throne and is now clinging to 10th. She's gone from attending gala royal events in London to opening a Speedo factory in the Midlands. Even for William and Kate's anticipated children, the inside track to the throne can have some derailments. If the first children are daughters, any arriving son will immediately jump ahead of them. Remember, Queen Elizabeth took the throne only because she had no brothers.
The law is quite clear. It has to be the eldest son, and daughters take a second place.
Is there any chance that'll change? The rules will change to allow just the eldest child to go to the throne instead of the eldest boy?
I think once William and Catherine have their firstborn child, that sort of question will raise itself.
Nowadays, a modern royal couple like William and Kate, they will be very keen to see that law's change.
In fact, Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg says change is already under consideration, noting that favoring a male child now seems a bit old-fashioned, something surely unacceptable in the anticipated ascension of a thoroughly modern monarchy.
When we come back, the most unforgettable images of this wonderful day. Some personal thoughts. I was fortunate enough to report on the wedding of Princess Diana to Prince Charles, and then, sadly, to report on the funeral of Princess Diana. But today made up for that sadness, this wonderful couple, the happiness, the joy that we all felt watching it. I'm privileged to have been a part of it. Now, don't forget to watch Nightline later on. And now let's take a look at some of the glorious images of this wedding day. I'm Barbara Walters for ABC. Good night.